Alright, what's up guys, Chokosura here, and we're back with another Secret of Mana Randomizer Seed of the Week. This is number 251, and for this week we have another Mana Tree Revival Seed. Maribot's on a Mana Tree Revival kick again, so who knows when we'll get another Vanilla Long Seed. But as I mentioned on other videos, we as runners of these weekly seeds are at the mercy of the Maribot, so nothing we can do about it. Alright, so anyway, this week is going to be a weekly seed review where I go over my gameplay and explain my decision making, point out any mistakes that I may have made during the run, and so on and so forth. Alright, so this week we only have 7 flags. We'll go ahead and check them out real fast. We have a sprite start, we have restrictive logic as always, vanilla bosses, so we know what bosses are where. We also have starter gear enabled, so we will be starting off with all 3 pieces of the lowest tier armor instead of just 1. We also have random status ailments set to easy. We have a random amount of seeds that we need, but the minimum is going to be 6, so we need at the very least 6 seeds to complete the run. Alright, so yeah, those are the flags. Nothing too crazy, nothing too, annoying. So we're gonna go ahead and get started here, starting off with the sprite. Of course, this means we can do the skip at the beginning of the waterfall. You can only do this with the sprite or the girl. You cannot do this with the boy. The game simply won't let you. That should be good right there. And we get the sword as our starting weapon. I'll go ahead and check it out. I think it was like high damage. Yeah, high damage, strength, and earth. Alright, so right off the bat, I'm thinking Mantis Ant is not going to be a good idea. Because 1, Mantis Ant is strong against earth. 2, it's a high damage range weapon, and 3, we are sprite. So we are not going to even touch Mantis Ant. We know it's Mantis Ant because it is vanilla bosses. Alright, so we head to the basement and we pick up Lumina right off the jump. Fire Seed located in a castle is our first hint. I go ahead and check the shop just to see what's there. And I think after this, I head out to Rabbite Forest to see what is on the hint out here. Since we do have a sword as a starting weapon, we can access this hint. I also kill a couple of these Dark Knights just to see if any chest drops out here. Okay, so we don't get a hint, unfortunately, so that's a reset. And as I mentioned earlier, we don't even bother to save here. We just go straight to our hints, because Mantis Ant is going to be pretty annoying to deal with this particular weapon. Alright, so Dryad needed for Grand Palace. Spear in a Forgotten Land. Okay, so not much on our hints so far. Earth Seed in a chest. Okay, so we got a hint saying that the Fire Seed was in a chest. And the Earth Seed... Oh, I'm sorry, the Fire Seed was in a castle, and then the Earth Seed in a chest. So right away, I'm thinking Pandora Ruins could possibly... It is possible for Pandora Ruins to have both the Fire Seed and the Earth Seed. So I want to make Pandora Ruins a priority once we get done with our freebies anyway. Okay, so Undini not needed for Grand Palace. And nothing on that sign. We go ahead and Flammy out. Right now we are searching for information. We want information on seeds. And we've got information on 2 of them. Of course we need 6 seeds minimum. There is a possibility that we need 7 seeds or all 8 seeds this run. Alright, so even though I'm sitting on starter gear, we check the shop just to see what's in there. We see raccoon caps there, so I make a mental note of that. If we find some money down the line, we can pick that up. Unless I find, you know, like quilted hood or tiger cap. Alright, so we read this hint and it says Moonseed is early. So now I'm definitely thinking that Pandora Ruins has something. And I popped that Dark Knight for a cheeky chest drop, which we get 100 gold out of that, which is decent. So yeah, Pandora Ruins, I'm thinking, has to have something. Has to have something. There's a high chance that it does have a seed. Speaking of Pandora, I dropped down to Pandora to read or to check the shop, and then I read the hint, I believe. Alright, so we pick up some herbs and candies here just for later on. We are sitting on starter gear, so we don't necessarily need to worry about armor right away. We are Sprite though, so Sprite is the first character that usually starts taking damage. And then the girl, and then the boy, because Sprite has the least defense in general. So we want to make sure we learn some information about armor in case we need to upgrade. But we can definitely sit on our starter gear for now. At least for the first couple of levels anyway. Alright, so I head on over to Moogle Village here. This is pretty standard route here. Alright, so we get an axe orb and I think a glove orb. Yeah. So nothing there. Alright, so our next stop is Matango. Again, we check the shop. We check the chest a little bit after this. We see Cobra Bracelet and Ruby Armet. Yeah, so like I said, this is a pretty standard opening route for early game. There's a Javelin Orb, but nothing too crazy yet. We haven't found any elementals aside from Lumina, which we obviously can't use. No seeds yet. So at this point I'm thinking I might have to do a full freebies run just to see what I could come up with. Because so far we haven't seen anything noteworthy. So here in Mandala, I check the shop and then I head up to the temple to get some information. We see fancy overalls there, which is nice. That's nice to see because if chest guard is on a Nico, then the fancy overalls will be the next best thing. So definitely glad to see that there. But of course we don't have any cash. Alright, so we come up here, we read the hints. Okay, we see the boy is mid, shade not needed for Grand Palace. Meg 3 is dead, so now I don't care what's at Grand Palace. I think the rest of these hints pertain to Grand Palace. Yeah, so now we don't care what Grand Palace wants because we know there's no seed on Meg 3. So half of those hints are effectively useless. Alright, so I believe I hit the Turtle Isle here. I think we went Turtle Isle to, I want to say Tasnica. I'm pretty sure it was Turtle Isle into Tasnica here. And we pick up Shade, which is a really nice find because now we have some way of doing damage via the Dark Force spell. Again, we don't have any mana seeds, so hopefully we find some rather soon here. Alright, so we're down in Tasnica. We're gonna go ahead and complete this check and see if the king has a hint. Honestly, I feel as of late Tasnica is, I'm not gonna say it's a bad check, it just hasn't had anything noteworthy where it'd be like seeds or anything useful. A useful hint on the king. Yeah, so we just get a spear up there, and I don't think the king had a hint here either. No, so yeah, sometimes Tasnica is just flat out useless. But it is a free check, so it is what it is. Rando is gonna rando, as they all say. Alright, so next stop is going to be the lighthouse. We only still have the sword, so we can't make any of the weapon lock free checks. We don't have a whip, we don't have an axe. So pretty much this early game is kind of bland, you know. Oh, we do pick up Luna though, which is huge because now we have MP sustain. And also now we don't have to be relying on getting the other characters because Sprite can pretty much kill everything with Shade and Luna. We also know it's vanilla bosses, so we won't be running into many enemies that are dark resistant. Unless we go to Northtown Ruins, which they have dark bosses there. So yeah, seeing Luna at the lighthouse puts us in a pretty good spot. Alright, so in Southtown again, we check the armor. I don't think Mara had anything, which she usually doesn't. So we see tiger caps, we see quilted hoods, we see some really good stuff there. So definitely might be coming back to that shop. I think we also saw like golden tiara, some really good helmets in there. And we know where fancy overalls are. So we've pretty much seen all of the good mid-game armors aside from chest guard. Alright, so we come to Northtown, we check Chrissy hint, and I talked to the wrong NPC there like a goofball. Fire final is the javelin. So now we know that the fire final does not have anything important, just a javelin. So might as well be dead. Okay, Frosty Ring. And okay, there's chest guards and circlets in the Northtown shop. So yeah, we've definitely seen everything that we've needed to see as far as armor. The only problem is we still don't have any money. So I'm still making free checks. At this point, I'm thinking I need some cash. Hopefully get some cash on some of these next free checks because I mean, ideally I don't want to sit on starter gear forever. Especially since I have Shade, I have Luna, I have a sword. This is looking like an early Pure Land run. That was my thought process. This is definitely looking like an early Pure Land run. The only thing that's missing is a couple of mana seeds. But we have information on 3 of them. So I was thinking, okay, after freebies, I'm just going to do Pandora Runes and check because it is possible, it is very possible that there's at least 1 seed there because we know that the fire seed's in a castle. We know that the moon seed is early and we know that the earth seed is in a chest. So that is the main reason why I want to prioritize Pandora Ruins. I want to prioritize checking these freebies. And so far, we haven't seen any mana seeds, so it's looking more and more likely that there are seeds in Pandora Ruins. Or in the treasury, rather. Not the ruins, but the treasury. So we're here in Northtown Ruins. I don't think the castle had anything noteworthy. We know that the Midge Mallet is here, and the Midge Mallet could be useful. We also pick up a sword up there, so we may be able to use that and fish for an int weapon, but again, we don't have any money. And that's pretty much our main concern right now is the fact that we don't have cash. We haven't seen a lick of cash on any of these free checks. Which, I mean, is not that bad considering we had starter gear. And there's our mallet. I decided to dip out here because I'm looking at the enemies in the ruins. We're seeing kimono birds, we're seeing blats, we're seeing some annoying stuff in there, so we don't want to be hit by a bunch of status going through there, so I decided to dip out. Alright, so now we're checking Ice Country checks. Axe before the Pure Lands bushes. Okay, so we learn where the axe is. And of course, I've said many a time that the axe is one of those items where it's usually, not always, but usually required somewhere, somehow during the seed. So we definitely make a note of that. Alright, so we come in Ice Palace, we go for the Glove Orb chest. And I do believe I checked my experience here because I don't want to hit level 2. I'm seeing my seed count and I haven't Shade and Luna. That means I'm going to be most likely forced to run a level 0 Dark Force on the Pandora Ruins boss. And we get another sword order from Ice Palace. So yeah, it's definitely looking like Pandora Ruins has something. So we are going to go straight there. I don't see any other play that would be good here. Because like I said earlier, we know that those mana seeds could be in the treasury. Best case scenario is, of course, all 3 seeds being in that treasury, which they do fit the category in a castle, early game, and in a chest. Alright, so it is as I feared. We do have to fight the wall face with a level 0 Dark Force, but we have Luna, so it's not too big of a deal. Yeah, so this is basically a standard run so far. We're not doing anything too crazy. We're not making any crazy checks here. We're just running off of, we're following hints pretty much. We're trying to follow those seed hints. Alright, so we're running through, making our way to the wall face. We know it's wall face because it's vanilla bosses. Alright, now here I probably should have just sat still and started casting, but I decided to walk up anyway. We shrink ourselves with the mallet here so we can get some faster spell cast going. So we can chain faster. That's pretty much why I did what I did there. Okay, so he gets a heal off, unfortunately, which doesn't heal for much, only 42. So yeah, the plan here is just to sling Dark Forces until it dies. And I'm honestly surprised that we did not kill right there. We might have rolled low on one of those Dark Forces. Not to mention we don't have an int weapon either, so yeah, there it is. I thought about trying to get an int weapon, but the issue is we have no money still. It's kind of rare. Well, I can't say it's rare, but it's uncommon that a seed won't give you any money on free checks. Alright, so we get the Dryad seed, which is a nice surprise. So there's at least one seed here. So now we head toward the treasury. And then after the treasury, I think I decided to grind. I think. I'm pretty sure there was at least like one seed here. But I don't want to get too ahead of myself here. But anywho, the wall face kill could have been a little bit faster, but we got screwed by damage rolls, I think. because it took 5 to kill at level 1, which on average it should have taken like 4. Alright, so we got to the treasury, we find the bow, there's our fire seed, we get a boomerang orb, there's the moon seed, 800 bucks, and the earth seed. So we pretty much got best case scenario here, where all 3 of those seeds that were on hints were all in the Pandora treasury. So now we're sitting on 4 mana seeds, Shade, and Luna. Guess what my thought process is? We are going to go to Pure Land, but before we go there, we want to level our Shade to level 4. So that's exactly what I do here. We're going to shrink ourselves, we're going to walk outside, and then we are going to spam Dispel Magic on this poor Dark Knight. Yeah, so the idea here is we want to do early Pure Land for 2 reasons. 1, we want to know how many mana seeds we actually need to beat the run. And 2, we want to get Pure Land over and done with while we are like level 3. And we have the damage to get through those bosses. We know all the bosses there are vanilla, so nothing there is going to be resistant to Shade. So we make sure we get our Shade to level 4 so it does as much damage as possible. We also get Luna, I believe, to level 3 as well. And I decided to pop the Dark Knight after that in case I get a cheeky chest drop, because we do only have like 900 bucks right now, and we're still sitting on starter gear. All right, we drop our first save, and we go back outside, and we do it again. All right, I'll check the bow. Didn't have int on it. I forgot I had the bow, so I wanted to check it and see if I had an int weapon on it, but there was no int weapon, unfortunately. So again, we are leveling Shade to level 4. It doesn't take too long since we have normal spell growth for the rando anyway. So as of right now, we can't turn in any of these seeds that we have. Earth Seed requires the whip, obviously, and whatever element we need for Earth Palace, which we don't know what it is. Fire Seed, we can't get through Fire Palace, and we do get a chest drop for 300 gold, which will help quite a bit. Moon Seed we can't turn in. Only seed we can turn in at this point is the Dryad Seed. The other reason why I'm popping Dark Knights after casting on them, other than trying to get chest drops for money, is because we do want to upgrade our armor, because we do have to go through 6 bosses, obviously. We also want to get a Fairy Walnut before going to Pure Land, and the reason why is because simply of Thunder Gigas. Of course, we can't drain his MP with Luna, so we will have to use a walnut on him when we get to him. So here we work on Magic Absorb and get that to, I think I got this to 4 actually, because I had the MP to do it. Yeah, so that actually reached level 4 here. And again, I popped the Dark Knight for another chest drop. So we get another 300 gold there. So 600 gold from the Dark Knights. So now I think I was sitting on like, what, 1500 gold here? I think. Yeah. So I'm thinking to myself, 1500 gold can get me some decent armor. So I decided to go to, I believe, Southtown after this, because we saw those helmets there earlier. We saw like quilted hoods and tiger caps. Tiger caps too expensive, so I decided to go for, I believe, the tiara. Because again, like I just said, I want to save at least 500 gold to get a walnut. I think I went golden tiara and silver band here. I bought the walnut first though, because I wanted to make sure I had that. The walnut's a must. Yeah, I think I went golden tiara and silver band here. Yeah. So that gives us, along with the midge robe, that gives us a total of 34 defense, which is enough to get through Pure Land. Well, the later part of Pure Land anyway. The early part of Pure Land we're not too concerned about because the bosses and enemies are level 3. But as we gain levels and kill bosses in Pure Land, of course the enemies are going to scale up. So we want to make sure we have some sort of defense going. We don't want to get smacked up a bunch of times. So that's why we want to have as much defense as we can get right now, as our money will allow. And speaking of that, I was thinking there's really not a lot of money in the seed. So with that said, we're really not interested too much in getting the other characters. We know that the boy is mid, but I really didn't care because unless the boy had, say, the whip on him, then I really don't care. Alright, so we head to the first boss, which is the snake, of course. I still don't have an int weapon, but it doesn't matter too much. We're slinging around level 4 dark forces. And I do believe it takes 3 to kill here. Yeah, there it is. Alright, so 3 dark forces and the snake is down. And there's our axe. I immediately check it because I'm looking for an int weapon. And of course, we didn't get it. We got high damage Con Thunder. So, the rest of Pure Land pretty much goes similarly to how the snake went. We just sling Dark Force at everything. We do have 9 MP here, so we do have to be a little bit careful with our MP consumption here. Because 9 obviously is a multiple of 3, so if you cast 3 Dark Forces without draining MP in between, then you're out of MP. And we don't want to use our Walnut on any of these bosses aside from Thunder Gigas. Because we don't need to. We have Magic Absorb. We'll let that do the work for us as far as sustaining our MP. Alright, so we get double glove up there. We are close to the 6 seed minimum. We do have 4. And of course, we've got ninjas in Pure Land, which is slightly annoying. And this is another reason why we want armor, is because we got goblins here as well. Alright, so Axe Beak. Same thing, we're just gonna sling Dark Forces until he dies. I think this one takes 4, or 3 or 4. It might be 4. Honestly, it might have been 3. I think I might have overcast right there. I'm not sure. I'm thinking it would have taken only 3 to kill there, but who knows. The thing is with all of these Pure Land bosses is they do have some sort of magic defense. That's another reason why we wanted to level Shade to level 4. Alright, so we get a Spear Orb and we get the Glove. Now, I'm thinking, okay, so Glove will allow me to... it'll allow me to... What am I trying to say? It'll allow me to check Fire Palace out of logic. Unfortunately, we get bursted right here. So we lost a little bit of time in that room. We do have the axe, so we don't have to check Sunken City chest out of logic. It also means we can check the chest in Dark Palace, so we keep all this in the back of our mind. Alright, so Red Dragon, again, we just Dark Force him. Make this a nice, clean fight. I think this one also takes 3 as well. Although seeing that 200 damage, it might be 4. I think this one took 4. Because I have a feeling we low rolled on that one for sure. 2 level 4 Dark Forces only did 200 damage, so yeah, I think we low rolled one of them. I'm actually pretty sure we did. But again, low rolling spell damage is something that you have to deal with. And we find Dryad. Now, I'm thinking, okay, I can use, you know, the old classic burst in magic absorb combo that everyone loves and loves, but is it worth it to level Dryad at this point? Not really. So we decide to just leave Dryad alone. Although, yes, I could have spammed Sleep Flower until it reached level 4. But I felt as though it's not really worth it since I also have a level 4 Dark Force, which is almost as good. Alright, so here we are at Thunder Gigas. We got 10 MP this time around, so we can cast 3. But it is Thunder Gigas, so we can't drain MP here. So we're forced to Walnut. And I think I had to sling like 2 more at him after this. I didn't want to take chances against this thing. Oh, I stunned 3 more. Okay, that might have been an overcast right there. Yeah, that 6th one might not have been necessary. I'm pretty sure he would have died after 5. But yeah, that's the main reason we wanted to use the Walnut, because I knew that Thunder Gigas was not going to die after 3 casts of Dark Force. We can't drain MP obviously, so we had the Walnut to get our MP back, otherwise we had to swing our sword at him, which will take forever. Alright, so we get a Sword Orb and an Axe Orb from Thunder Gigas. And we make our way to the Blue Dragon. So yeah, this Pure Land run is pretty smooth, all things considered. Nothing too crazy about it. Alright, so Blue Dragon, same thing, we just Dark Force him. Now, if I had a second character with me at this point, I would have considered leveling up Dryad on the fly as I'm running through rooms, but leveling spells up on the fly when you're solo is not really, I can't say it's not a good idea, but it takes a lot longer because it freezes you in place when you cast. So leveling up spells on the fly, you really want a second character with you, so you can actually make progression toward the next room while you cast. But you can't do that when you're alone. So that's one of the reasons why I did not level up Dryad. I could have, but I didn't. Alright, so we get 1,200 bucks there. Pure Land is done. Nice and simple. No issues. I think that was about a, what, 6-minute Pure Land run? Maybe 7. Alright, so now we're at the Mana Tree. And I'm thinking to myself, I need to make the correct plays here because we don't know, 1, how many mana seeds we actually need, and 2, we want to make plays that make sense. We want to check spots that make sense based on what we have. Alright, so unfortunately, worst case scenario happens and we need all 8 mana seeds. So, at this point I'm thinking, we have an axe, we have a glove, we have 4 seeds, and we're like level 11 or something like that. So I decided to go, where did I go here? I think I went to Dark Palace. Yeah. So I decided to go to Dark Palace because we have an axe. We can check these chests in here because they're axe locked. And I felt as though I wanted to go further up the complexity ladder here because maybe we find something. Oh yeah, I had to drain here because that blue dragon fight didn't level me up there, so I had to drain some MP there. So now we are in complexity 1. I believe there was a seed here too, if I recall. There was a main seed here. Pretty sure there was. Yeah, okay, so the light seed be fine. We can't really do anything with that since we don't have the gold key, but it is seed number 5. Speaking of seeds, I was also thinking about trying to turn in mana seeds, and we find the Sea Hare Tail too. So at this point I'm thinking, okay, Sea Hare Tail, we'll turn that in, and then we go to Fire Palace. We have the glove, we have the sword. We can check Fire Palace checks out of logic, but I decided to stop at Moon Palace because I have the Moon Seed and there is a slight chance we can get through. We have, what, 3 elementals we can choose from? The odds are not really in our favor, but I decided to check just to see if, you know, RNGesus blessed me, and it did not. So we know that Lumina is required for Moon Palace. Unfortunately, we do not have Prim, so that means we can't turn in the Moon Seed until we find the girl. Alright, so next up, as I was saying earlier, we check and see what's behind the Sea Hare Tail. Since we're right here in Kakara, might as well do it. We also upgrade to Golden Vest, I believe. Yes, since I had the money, might as well do it. We pick up another walnut as well, just in case we need it. So at this point, we really don't need the other characters. There's a chance we might need the girl, but I was honestly trying to do as much as I can without getting the other characters. We know the boy is mid, so there is a chance we run into the boy in the Fire Palace. We don't know where the girl is. And I'm looking at my tracker as I'm going through here and remembering some hints. Okay, so that's Silphus, so we do have to climb the wall. But anywho, I'm looking at the tracker and remembering some hints, and we know that the javelin is in the Fire Palace. We got a hint for the spear, and I think did we get a hint for the boomerang? I don't remember getting a hint for the boomerang. But I don't think it matters because we know that the whip is on either the boy or the girl, which is slightly concerning. Okay, we find Gnome there, which is nice. All this is going through the back of my mind as I'm playing through this section of the run. Alright, so this next orb is a Dryad orb, which we have. However, this is out of logic because we don't have Sulfate. So that gnome check we just found is out of logic. And these next two checks were out of logic as well. Alright, so there's the wind seed. So after seeing that, I'm thinking we can turn that in just to see what comes out of that. A lot of these mana seeds we can't turn in right now because we simply don't fulfill the conditions to turn them in. And there we find Salamander, which I don't know if that's relevant or not. We just pick them up and we leave. We know that the Fire Seed pedestal has the Javelin, so we don't need to go any further in the Fire Palace. Yeah, so I do believe we head straight for Wind Palace here because we just picked up that Wind Seed. We want to see what's behind it. Although the Wind Seed is out of logic, we don't know what complexity we're in exactly because we don't know what Silphid is. Alright, so I decided to throw a Gem Missile here just to see if I can do something to this Spring Beak. Not to mention it's a little bit cheaper than Dark Force, and Spring Beak doesn't have any magic defense. So even level 0 Gem Missiles will do pretty decent damage to him. I think I needed one more to kill. I think. Might have been two. Nope, it was one. And that's a tip for those who play seeds that have faster magic leveling disabled, is level 0 magic is still good against bosses with 0 magic defense. Case in point, Spring Beak. Mantis Ant, Tropicalia, pretty much anything that's early game doesn't have any magic defense. You can still use magic that's level 0 and still do a decent amount of damage to them. Alright, so we make the Wind Seed check, and we find the Whip Orb and the Dark Seed. So now I'm thinking, oh brother, where is this Water Seed? We don't know because we don't have a hint for it. So I decided to just, stick with the plan and turn in as many Mana Seeds as I can. We turned in the Wind Seed. All the other seeds we can't turn in right now. Again, we don't fulfill the conditions, so the last seed we can turn in is the Dryad Seed. So we go straight to Sunken Continent. But before I turn in the Dryad Seed, I decided to come down here to check the Sunken City chest. We do have the axe, so we can get to it. Honestly, I don't know if I should have gone down here. I should have just went straight for the Dryad Seed pedestal, but I felt as though it wasn't too bad of a check, so I figured I might as well just do it. Check the chest and then leave. And in the chest we find Prim with the Boomerang. I reset out of her because at this point of the run we have 7 seeds and we don't need her at all. So we just say no to Prim. We know where she is in case I need her for turning in the Moon Seed. So that's pretty much her only purpose right now. Potentially her only purpose. But other than that, we really don't need her. So we decided to just, come up here and turn in the Dryad Seed. Alright, so Snapdragon. I was thinking about throwing fireballs here, but the only issue with Snapdragon is he does have magic defense. And of course, our fireball is level 0. So we decided to just go with Dark Force instead. And kill him that way. And I think it took one more to kill here. Yep. Alright, so down goes Snapdragon. So now we can check the Dryad Seed pedestal. And we find 600 bucks and a Boon Orb. Alright, so we rope out, and now my thought process is I want to save because 1, I haven't saved in a long time, and 2, we can clear Upper Grand Palace. We can check hexes, we can check watermelon, and see what we find. Alright, so we drop a save. I really wish that the Nico on Sunken Continent had a save function. Unfortunately, it doesn't. So you have to like come to Pandora or something to drop a save if you want to save split Upper Grand Palace checks. Alright, so you drop back down to Grand Palace. And I decided to check Watermelon first because it's closer, it's right here. The plan was if there's nothing here, we reset and then we check hexes. Alright, so Watermelon we immediately position above him so we avoid his wall spell. Although we have Dispel, we don't want to be casting Dispel. We don't have time for that. We want to just kill and get this check over with. Alright, so we throw 2 more Dark Forces. I think it would have died after that first one though. Yeah. Pretty sure it would have died after that first one. But sometimes it's good to overcast just to make sure you kill the thing. And it's not like we have mana problems. Alright, so here we get an Axe Orb and we find our Water Seed. So conveniently, the Water Seed was right there. So that is all 8 seeds, and now this seed is done with. We just gotta fly back to Pure Land. We are on Sunken Continent, so Pure Land, the quickest way to get to Pure Land from Sunken Continent is to fly southeast and wrap around the map. So that's exactly what we do. And that is it for this seed. I do believe we get a time of 45:26. Yep. So 45:26 is our time for this seed of the week. Yeah, so pretty straightforward seed. This one really wants you to read your hints. And making logical plays on this seed will benefit you because you will find what you need. We did freebies first, of course, and then we got our hints. Fire Seed hint, Earth Seed hint, Moon Seed hint, all were useful. They all pointed to the same place. Potentially, they were pointing to the same place. Fire Seed in a castle, Moon Seed early, Earth Seed in a chest. All of those can potentially point to one place, and that is the Pandora Treasury. And after seeing no seeds in other places like Ice Palace, Northtown Castle, places like that, I'm thinking, alright, so Pandora Ruins has to have something. At least one of those seeds simply has to be there. Moon Seed, not likely because it's early. It could have been anywhere early. We did open quite a few chests. So chances are the Earth Seed was in Pandora Ruins. And then Fire Seed being in a castle. We checked pretty much every castle aside from Witch's Castle, which we couldn't get to. And I think that's it. Just Witch's Castle. And Treasury, which we had to do Pandora Ruins to get to in the first place. So there was a high chance that the Fire Seed was there too. Thankfully, we got best case scenario, and all 3 of those aforementioned seeds were in the Pandora Treasury, and we got a bonus seed on top of that for killing Wallface in the Dryad Seed. So 4 seeds in Pandora was absolutely sick. So yeah, after that, the only logical play to do after that is to go to Pure Land. You have all the tools to do it. We have 4 mana seeds. You have a sword to get through. You have Shade and you have Luna. I don't see a world where anyone doesn't go to Pure Land early here. I just don't see it. But of course, you kind of want to, level up your magic so you can get through the bosses pretty quickly. So that's exactly what we did. We leveled up our Shade to level 4. We leveled our Luna to level 4. Although I probably could have left her at 3 and it would have been fine. So leveling Luna up to 4, I don't know if I would consider that a misplay, but might have been a little bit of a time loss, just a little bit. But like I said, I could have left Luna at maybe level 3 and be fine. It would have leveled to 4 on its own eventually by killing bosses. So maybe that was a little bit of a time loss, but that's okay. And not to mention it's vanilla bosses, so it's not like anything, it's not like you're gonna run into anything in Pure Land that's gonna resist dark magic. Nothing in Pure Land resists dark magic, so you can just Dark Force all 6 of those bosses and be done with it. The only thing about the seed is making the correct decisions after Pure Land, assuming one goes early Pure Land. But I decided to just start turning in mana seeds because I had 4. Unfortunately, half of those mana seeds I couldn't turn in the first place, so we decided to just turn in the mana seeds that we could. I wanted to go up the complexity ladder because we had the axe, so that's why I decided to check Dark Palace. We found the light seed there, which was seed number 5. Nice and free. Light seed, again, we couldn't turn in because we had no gold key. And then we found the Sea Hair Tail. Now, after the Sea Hair Tail, I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to turn that in. In the process, we can check Moon Palace Orb and see if I can turn that seed in. And we have the glove, so we can check Fire Palace out of logic. We can do it since we have the sword. We check Moon Palace, we find out it's Lumina. Unfortunately, we couldn't get through. We needed the girl for that. Turn in the Sea Hair Tail, I think that was, what, a Javelin Orb, so nothing there. And then we check Fire Palace out of logic. We find out we need Sylphid to get past the first orb, so Fire Palace turns out to be out of logic. First chest was Gnome. Gnome's nice. Second orb was Dryad, which we did have Dryad. So we popped that and we made our way to the other 2 checks were what, Salamander and was it the Dark Seed? No, the Wind Seed. The Wind Seed was there. So now I'm thinking, okay, Wind Seed, we can check that. So we turn in the Wind Seed and we find the Dark Seed. Can't turn that in because we don't have a whip. So the last seed we can check in this instance was the Dryad Seed. So we decided to check the Dryad Seed and we didn't find a seed there, but then I'm thinking, all right, let's just clear Sunken Continent or Upper Sunken Continent. Now there is a world where I could have just gone straight for the Watermelon and Hexus checks there without saving. But I wanted to actually save split those because, again, enemies are scaling up and we don't want to be, lacking behind on defenses. So I decided to pop a quick save in Pandora. I didn't really want to check the Sunken City chest. I mean, there's a world where I could have just skipped that, but it's okay. We find the girl, but unfortunately the girl shows up way too late to be any sort of use on this seed. So we reset out of her. And then we find the water seed on Watermelon, which was very convenient. Very convenient. Alright, so anywho, 4526 is our time for this seed of the week. Pretty fun seed. I don't think the other runners are going to have too much of an issue with this seed. Especially if they take a similar route to what I did. So I'm kind of expecting a lot of sub hours on this seed for sure. We may see times over an hour depending on where the other runners decide to check, if they didn't get hints or whatnot. But yeah, pretty simple seed this week. Alright, so with that said, I will see you guys next time.